Good morning. We continue our conversation about the feminine principle of flow and our feminine responsibility of receptivity in this process of creation. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the Taoist symbol and how it represents the dance of duality within the unity, the oneness of the whole. Let me just start with a quote from the Tao Te Ching, as I quote in my book, the OASIS, by any name, 1, 2, 3. There was something formless and perfect before the universe was born. It is serene, empty, solitary, unchanging, infinite, eternally present. It is the mother of the universe. For lack of a better name, I call it the Tao. It flows through all things inside and out and returns to the origin of all things. The Tao is great. The universe is great. Earth is great. Man is great. These are the four great powers. Man follows earth. Earth follows universe. Universe follows the Tao. The Tao follows only itself. So, in talking yesterday about flow, flow represents our energetic universe in that core principle of thermodynamics, the movement of energy, is that energy always flows from a point of high concentration to a point of lower concentration. So again, as we serve our function, which is a very feminine function of receptivity, serving as a conduit, the portal through which this energy flows from the timeless realm into the space-time world, we are fulfilling a great function, because the Tao, or as Eckhart Tolle described God as the unmanifested, as this energetic principle seeks manifestation, seeks expression, it needs us, it needs our participation. Okay, so this is where the beginning of that dance of duality happens, because in the perfect expanse of universal oneness, there isn't the dance of duality. There isn't the masculine and the feminine. But in order for this energetic oneness, this principle of oneness, to manifest in the space-time world, which is defined by duality, it needs to divide itself seemingly from oneness into duality, into two parts. Okay, so if we see the Tao as the great mother, the mother of all things, in her magnanimity, she takes on the masculine energetic form of expression. We take on the feminine energetic principle of receptivity, and the energy flows through us into the world. Now, one of the key elements that I mentioned before about our process of creativity, I'd mentioned the 4 stages: the preparation, incubation, illumination, and expression. It's key to remember that both as a species and as individuals, our process of preparation is a masculine process. Okay, there's work involved in preparing ourselves to receive this creative evolutionary power. And then it's necessary that we shift, that we let go and we move ourselves into a feminine position of openness, receptivity, patience. Okay, so there's a great line from A Course in Miracles that says it's only infinite patience that produces immediate results. So being able to harness this perfect feminine power of receptivity and patience, we allow this masculine energetic principle to move through us. And the process of illumination, again, is the second part of this feminine receptivity. And then, again, we're called to step into the masculine and express, deliver, communicate through one means or another. Sometimes it can be through words, my talking or my writing. Other times it's other forms of expression, how we reach out and share, reach out and touch our fellow humans. But it takes a certain masculine boldness, okay, to do that, especially in this time of great transformation. It takes a certain masculine boldness to perhaps speak in ways that are difficult for most to hear. Okay, we're going through a very important birthing process, and a big part of this birthing process is a dying process. The old forms must be dissolved in order that there's this openness, this receptivity for this new evolutionary pulse to arise. Okay, so we talked about that just briefly. I'll mention that much more as we talk about the masculine and feminine, because we're talking about the feminine flow, but also the masculine power of the fire that destroys, that breaks down, that dissolves old forms. So it's very important to understand and accept and ideally appreciate and participate with enthusiasm in this dance of duality, because it's essential to understand our place and purpose in this universe to be able to do this. Because many people, they just want to focus on a non-dual awareness of oneness, and it's difficult for many to appreciate what we're called to do as participants in this dance in the space-time world, which is, again, the interplay of masculine and feminine forces. Okay, and so we see this polarity expressed in a variety of ways, and much of it is, again, where the polarity, the duality, has attached itself to forms. Okay, and those could be economic forms or political forms or whatever forms. And the forms now, which are being called to dissolve in order that new forms or systems or whatever might arise. And this is always the difficulty with our evolution, again, at the personal level as well as the macrocosm, our species, is that we don't willingly, most do not willingly die to the old forms. We resist death. Okay, so we see that evidenced now in the world with so much fear, resistance, so much anger, confusion. It's an amazing time to be alive, and especially those of us that are called into mastery, where we might participate at a very high level in this birthing, deathing, birthing process. Very important, a very critical, very powerful time to be alive. I wondered, why my decades of preparation, sort of what was going to initiate this transformation, and here it's happening. Here in late 2019, it all began. You know, we went through the 0 point of 2012, and here we are now moving into this new era, this age of Aquarius, where, you know, we're poised and prepared to birth something new, but we needed help. Okay, so the forces that appear evil are in fact angelic in helping us in this process of transformation. Okay, so it's really important to understand, and again, I'll make a point to post in the video, the symbol, the Taoist symbol, which is key, okay, duality, but it's white and black, light and dark, good and evil, masculine and feminine, whatever. It's important to recognize that, you know, in the Taoist symbol, you'll see the light, point of light in the dark and the point of dark in the light. This dance, this interplay of duality, of polarity, is essential to understand and appreciate. Again, remember, we want, as those willing to help birth a new earth, using Eckhart Tolle's definitions, to bring acceptance, appreciation, and enthusiasm to this process. So now, as much of the world is in this state of incubation, which, you know, looks like dissolution, looks like death, it's the caterpillar being transmuted into the butterfly, that it looks very dark, it looks very much filled with doom and despair, because that's the caterpillar's perspective. That's the caterpillar sees the birth of a new earth, the birth of the butterfly, as doom. But again, it's really key, quote, A Course in Miracles, again, where it says the end of the world is not its destruction, but its translation into heaven. So again, we are called to be the translators, to translate what's happening into a heaven-like scenario, that this process, again, of birthing a new earth demands dissolution of old forms. And so, you know, when we began the OASIS Center for Conscious Living in Minnesota back in 1999, we used John Lennon's song, Imagine. And I'm sure many people would have a hard time imagining a world without governments, without religions, without personal ownership of property, all these things. But this is in fact what we see happening in the world very rapidly, a breakdown of these long-time structures and making room for something new. You know, just imagine the elimination of money. As an example, a lot of people can't really fathom, well, what would that look like to live in a world without money? Well, I think we will be shown. And it's important, again, because it looks to many people, because they're attached to these old forms, like something very negative is happening, that we, some of us that have the ability to do so, again, bring appreciation and even enthusiasm to this amazing process, okay, this dance of duality. So it's been very important for me in my personal development to develop a very deep relationship with the feminine principle that exists within me, within all of us, as well as the more inherent masculine principle that would, you know, speak out and, you know, work really hard for change and all of that. But the feminine is equally important. So within me and hopefully within all of us, we can find this balance, this harmony between these principles, and understand, appreciate both of them equally, and see that, you know, just like in birthing a child, it takes the masculine and the feminine to come together to procreate a new being. It's interesting that this is one other aspect that we're going to find in the future. It's probably not likely. It's not likely that humans will be produced through the procreation of two humans. We'll shift to a way that we do this scientifically in another way. And, you know, this is again just part of our evolution as a species, that we would look at the technology that comes from our masculine intelligence and hopefully, in harmony with our feminine spirituality and devotion to Mother Earth and you know, the birthing and care of the child, that these two forces will still work together to do the very best for the future of our species. So again, interesting times, powerful times, very important to keep holding the light that looks at this dance of duality. You know, just look at the play that's been happening, at least especially in North America, but really all around the world, between these two very dark forces, or powerful forces, I should say. But in the words of the, you know, Taoism, half of this duality looks very dark. And so it looks like it wants to destroy our world, destroy our species. And in fact, evolution would demand, because evolution always wins, that nothing's destroyed. Things are simply transmuting into something better, something, you know, again, beyond the imagination of our grandparents and most of our parents, and probably still most of us can't really see the good coming from all of this. But if we align ourselves with this very powerful, many thousands of years old ancient wisdom, it speaks very clearly to the reality that the Tao, or God, or whatever you want to call this energetic principle, it has things well in hand. You know, again, we know this, I know this, when we participate fully with it, when we're fully actively participating in this amazing evolutionary process, we come to know it in our heart of hearts that only good will arise from all of the chaos. It's been ordained, it was part of my personal destiny to know this, to know that I would be a significant player in this dynamic process, and to trust. You know, again, this is, you know, part of our the call that we have, just like the call for patience is the call for trust. Okay, so the feminine patience, the masculine trust. Can we know that this is happening? Can we know that this is a good thing? That all of this is moving forward? That again, evolution, to me, the word, I would use the word evolution maybe to describe how the Tao, the greater principle, manifests in our world as evolution. We're evolving, changing at a very rapid rate. And it's an exciting time, no doubt. So, you know, again, one thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, one of the things we'll talk about more and more is this process of dissolution, and focus more on the energy of the fire, or as much as the water, the energy of the fire, because dissolution of old forms is key. It's key. It's the trickiest part. Everybody loves the birth, you know, everybody loves to see the new child being born, but it's more difficult for people to be with death, to embrace death. And it's key. It's key. It's like they can't exist without each other. So very exciting time, very exciting process. I'm delighted to be able to spend a little bit of time each morning with you on this. And for those who are interested, we'll start having a weekly active online gathering, class, whatever you might call it, in addition to these short daily videos that I post. So those who are interested, you know, you're more than welcome to join us, to be part of the birthing, part of the solution. And, you know, it's just key to be able to be that part of the solution. It means letting go of any idea that there's a problem, that the appearance of the problem is simply evidence of the solution that is emerging. Okay, so if there weren't the quote unquote problem, there would be no reason for the solution. So you see, the problem necessitates the solution. Yeah, there's a great line, I forget where it comes from, but it says, necessity is the mother of invention. So we need, we collectively have brought things to a head where we need the new solution. We need the birthing the new earth. Otherwise, we're done, and that would not make sense to me from an evolutionary standpoint, that all of our preparation for many thousands of years are bringing us to a point where, we're meant to be realizing in a very quick time, because time has changed the way time operates now versus 500 or 5,000 years ago. Time is operating in a much different way. Okay, we could talk about the Mayan calendar and how they saw time, but again, time and space are negotiable elements. And so, the element of time, which is just, again, part of part of the dream, something that we're making up. We have the ability, or should I say, if we're aligned with the Tao, if we're aligned with the unmanifested, to that power, the element of time as we see it is meaningless. So what appears to be happening now in much quicker succession, quicker order, it's just our perception that we have relative to, like I say, 500 years ago or 5,000 years ago, where things would take hundreds and thousands of years to move. Now we're talking about a decade, we're talking about a year or two, we're talking about weekly. It's like the element of time has totally been transformed in this process. And and you would expect that, as the Mayans did, that we're coming out of time wave zero. We're just in the second era, second Khatum, as it comes out of that. And so we're talking about something happening, as much happening in 8 years as would happen in 25,000 years in another Khatum or era. So this is it. We're in it, 2021. This process, by the end of this decade, as we count time, is it. This is the birthing matrix. We're in it. We're vitally in it, and I just encourage everybody to see it all as miraculous, as beautiful, and accept our role truly as masters, to be able to step up and be so bold as to claim that, because that is what we're called to do. Jesus said it 2,000 plus years ago. He said, you collectively, you will do far greater things than I could ever have done, because in his Khatum, things were moving very slowly. Well, this is now the second coming of the Christ energy, and it is destined to be successful. So align yourself with that and have a great day, because it's happening. It's beautiful, and I love you so much. Hasta mañana.